Nope. There we go. Welcome back, everyone. Those who are not in the hall, I recommend you come back. We'll get going again. Hope you had a good break. See, there are some cookies over there I've seen people with. They look pretty yummy, so. Not bad? Oh, me neither. Me neither. So we're going to move on to CR11, committee. You got quorum, I think. Right. Wait, they don't. They should have a screen. Whose turn is it, committee? I'm just teasing you.
Constitutional Resolution number 11. Create board seats for equity-seeking groups. The MGEU will create board positions for equity-seeking groups when a standing committee is that of an equity-seeking group, for example, but not limited to, Young Members Committee, Women's Committee, Equality and Human Rights Committee. So, wait, pardon me. I'm going to blame the glasses. I'm just getting old. They, upon their first meeting after convention, shall vote amongst them a member who shall sit on the board. This person will also chair the meetings. Because these committees represent these groups and the areas they were voted in, and equity-seeking groups should decide who represents them on the board and not have board decide who represents them. Because other unions also have this practice. Because representation matters. Submitted by Local Prairie Mountain Community Support, Area 3.
Committee chair, speak to, or go ahead.
Sorry, the committee recommendation is to reject this.
Committee chair.
Yeah, so, hello? Hello?
Stop turning right on.
Hey, my mic stopped working. All right, here we go. So again, we made these recommendations in consultation with the Finance Committee and the Equality and Human Rights Committee. The resolution proposes that the MGU add new board positions for each of the equity-seeking standing committees, which if CR10 also passes, which it did not, would have changed the board by 7 additional seats and would have had a 25% uptake on the amount of people on the board, which would be significantly larger for a typical board for a union or an organization of our size. The proposed resolution would also result in a significant deviation from how both the chair of committees is selected, also how board members are populated, and it would create a board where there are multiple different ways of people getting on it. Each additional board seat costs about $15,000, and had we passed the other one, it would have added $105,000 per term to the MGU budget, approximately. And I understand that money is not the be-all and end-all, but it is a consideration. And it is important for us to give you that information for your consideration. So we recommended rejection primarily because it's just very different from how we populate our board and how we choose who chairs our committees, and would create a whole bunch of cascading effects within our Constitution. So for those reasons, the committee recommends rejection.
Thank you, Committee Chair. I see a speaker on con mic 2.
Deb Jamerson, Legal Local 26. I rise in opposition. I rise against, oh no, there I go, you see? I wish you didn't do this to me, Brother JP. Okay. I rise in support of the recommendation to reject this resolution. I'm still vibrating from the last speaking points, so this is near and dear to my heart. I have been a vice president of the MGEU. I was 4th vice president back in 2000 and 2001, 2002. I was elected by the membership of a convention of over 300 delegates. I was elected based upon my skill and ability and my commitment to the union and my commitment to the membership. And I think that if that could always be the way, that would be wonderful. But it hasn't happened since I stepped down from the position and moved on in my career. Do we need to have the positions? There's a good chance that we do. But what we're doing, once again, is not doing our work. And that is by getting out, meeting people of color, meeting BIPOC members, talking to people that are LG, you know what I'm trying to say, my mind's not there, I can never say that. And talking to them and getting them involved. A vice president of any equity-seeking group is only going to be as good as the people behind him. Take a look around the room, people, members. Take a look around the room. There are people of color here. There are indigenous people here. There are people who have disabilities. But we're the minority. And until we bring that up, until you have 25 to 35% of our members attending convention that reach those groups, then we're doing our job. And then we can elect. And yes, I know that there are other organizations that have those positions.
Speaker, you're almost out of time. I see a speaker on Pro Mic 1.
Kirk Carr, still local 403, still chief steward. Actually, I want to refer these to the committees for they can discuss this if this is something that they want, based on the debate that we've already had in the past, in the prior two resolutions.
And to be brought back in next convention?
Next convention, yeah, if they choose.
Okay. Do you have a seconder? Okay, James Alexander seconding. The referral to the committees to review and bring back to the next convention. Bring back a report to the next convention? Are you rising on a point or point of?
Bringing up a point.
We've had a motion to referral seconded.
Okay, I will.
And it's debatable if you want to debate where it's going or around that, but otherwise the motion is not debatable. Dots, I guess, is preparing the ballot. This will be a simple majority to refer. The ballot is now open for referral. This will be a simple majority, 50% plus one. Fifteen seconds remaining. The voting is now closed. That has been carried. 119 in favor, 54 opposed. So I'll be referred to the committees mentioned and we'll bring it back to next convention. Next we have CR 12, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, is out of order because CR 10 did not pass. They were linked together, so we'll move on to CR 13.
CR 13, remove workplace liaison designation. The MGU will delete the position of workplace liaison because members without this title already do this work, because it creates confusion. Submitted by Local Prairie Mountain Community Support Area 3. The committee's recommendation is to reject.
Committee Chair.
I'll just have to lean
Sorry,
awkwardly.
also moved and seconded by committee, sorry.
Yeah, so we recommend a rejection of this resolution. We believe the workplace liaison is a valuable position, is an important position or role for work locations that do not either have a steward or where members are not prepared to take on the full duties of the steward. The roles are well set out in the bylaws. So yeah, essentially we think this is a useful position and we do not really see a reason for any positions to be deleted.
Thank you, Chair. See a speaker at mic 1.
Kirk Carr again, 403. They put all my resolutions in one. I should just have a chair here. So anyways, I put this one forward as chief steward of the local. We have 20 plus different work sites, and we don't use this language at all. So I'm not sure which of these said duties defined here or not part of a regular member can't do without needing the special title. So I made this resolution to test the waters. I believe this position was created in the 90s. And in my 17 years within the MGEU, I've never actually heard it being used. So if your local actually uses this language, please come up and speak. Because I would vote to keep it if we're actually using it. But if not, we need to get rid of it. Because it's wasting space. So, yeah.
Thank you, Speaker on mic 1. Delegate on mic 3.
Hi, Elizabeth Parsons. I'm in local 047, and I'm just going to say that the reason I'm involved in the union right now is because of my workforce liaison position. We don't have a local steward. At the time I was working in a very large department. We didn't have a local steward that I knew. However, the workplace liaison officer did work down the hall, did tap me on the shoulder, did say, Liz, let's get involved in the union. Let's talk about stuff. So this is a position I think that is still valuable. I think with how the government, with this current government, right now we need to be really strong and really together. So anytime that there is a union representative and maybe they can't take on all of the responsibilities of a full stop steward, however that they can understand how the union works, connect you in with the appropriate people. He connected me in with Chris over there, who I believe is currently third vice president. So I think it's a really valuable position and it's really useful, especially for getting new members involved. Thanks.
Thank you, Delegate. Seeing no more speakers, we'll get the ballot ready. I'd like to remind delegates that this will take 2/3 majority to pass. As it is, ballots open. Fifteen seconds remaining. The ballot is now closed. That has been defeated. 151 reject, 27 accept. Thank you, everyone. Just give us a second here. We'll discuss for a minute.
Prior to standing up the committee, we just want to thank our staff who are assisting this committee, Wes Whiteside and Aaron Massey, for all their work. And we'd like the floor to give them a nice round of applause for putting up with us for the last 8 months.
I'd like to thank the Constitution Committee for their great work and all your guys' great work too, debating these motions, these resolutions. It's been really insightful and really good afternoon. So thank you guys, and I invite you to step down. Great job. Just call the Finance Committee up to the front. There's actually a present.
Yeah, I know, I saw.
I got it.
They're asking. Oh, okay. They're asking.
You're suddenly tired. I'm standing. I'm just gonna come get the chair in a second. I'm gonna step aside.
Should not stand on this. Thank you guys. Thank you Finance Committee for coming. First we'll introduce the Finance Committee. Kimberly Lynn is the chair. Order, delegates. Vice Chair is Glenn Bodnarik. Jonathan Lipson. Ed Miller. Shirley Russell. Les Saskowski. And Dean Werbisky. Brent Smith, MGEU Controller. And Jean-Guy Bourgeois, Director of Internal Operations. Now I'll turn the chair over to Stephanie to chair the rest of today's convention.
And I get the special riser, so. When we were doing our test yesterday, I couldn't see any of the screens, so they found me a box to stand on. Okay, so we're moving on to the finance, as Kyle just said. So I'll pass to the committee to read the first resolution.
Base dues on salary, not overtime. The MGEU.
Sorry. Okay, Financial Constitution, or Committee Resolution 1, base dues on salary, not overtime. The MGEU will base dues on base salary and not overtime or premiums because it is not fair to include overtime and premiums in the calculation. Submitted by Local Corrections Area 5.
So the resolution has been moved and seconded by committee. I will invite the committee chair to speak on the committee's recommendation.
So the committee's recommendation.
That one's not working.
That one's dead. Kimberly.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, maybe.
Sorry. So it's the committee's recommendation to reject this resolution. Members' overtime and premiums have been negotiated through collective bargaining by the MGEU. When disputes do arise over premiums and overtime, MGEU represents its members to ensure you're being paid properly and equitably. Excluding overtimes and premiums for the standard dues rate would create a significant budget shortfall and deficit, reducing our revenue by up to $2.4 million per year. To make up for this shortfall, the MGEU would need to either cut services to its members or raise dues.
from 1.25% to 1.45%. The current MGU dues rate is based on the principle that the same dues rate is applied to all income earned by MGU members.
Thank you. I'll now open the floor to debate if anyone has any questions, comments. I'm not seeing anyone on a pro mic, so I'm going to go to con mic 3.
Hello, everyone. Amanda Russell, Social Sciences, Local 47 President and Area 5 Director, and my preferred pronouns are she and her. I rise against this motion for the reasons that are written and that Kimberly Lynn just spoke to us, but I'd also like to share a little definition of equity versus equality that I found online. Equality means each individual or group of people is given the same resource or opportunities. Equity recognizes that each person has different circumstances and allocates the exact resources and opportunities needed to reach an equal outcome. So what I would say is that, yes, this may not feel fair to some people who have the benefit of having bargained premium overtime. There are many people in our union who do not have the advantage of that. And for example, I was told by one of my brothers that perhaps on a check of somebody who's getting premium overtime, that might be $7 that would go to union dues. And I would like to say that my sister from Churchill has indicated that's a 2 liter of milk. So when I kind of look at this, I think in the interest of solidarity and supporting one another, I would ask that you reject this. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. I'm not seeing anyone at a pro mic, so I'm going to go to another con, mic 2.
I'm one of those members that pay the extra union dues. You're going to protect me when I'm working on the weekends. We all have to learn to suck up and pay the extra. There's a lot of people that don't because they don't work the overtime, but it's out there. The union protects us, supposedly, with our overtime, but it's not something we can get out of. We have to stick with it. If we got to pay the extra, we pay the extra.
Thank you, delegates. I'm not seeing any other speakers. So with that, we will go to the vote. And I just want to remind delegates that the resolutions we'll be dealing with now require 50% plus 1. It was the constitutional ones required 2/3, but the rest will require just a 50% plus 1. So the ballot is now open. I'll give you a 15-second warning. The ballot is now closed, so we'll just wait for the results. So that resolution was defeated, and the numbers are 29 to accept and 149 to reject. I'll now turn back to committee for FC2.
General Resolution, MGU Convention 2022, reimburse locals for expenses. The MGU will reimburse the local executive for any expenses the local executive and the MGU staff rep for the local approves, up to an annual maximum of 1% of union dues collected from the members of the local. Because the MGU locals should be empowered to take local action which can have financial costs, because currently local executives are unable to nimbly undertake any of their own activism that may have financial costs, because local members should not have to pass the hat or have to apply for permission and funding for local initiatives, because union activism is powerful at the local level and locals should have the financial means to be effective in their activism. Submitted by the component executive, post-secondary education. Committee recommendation is to reject.
Okay, so that is moved and seconded by committee, and I'll turn to the committee chair to give their notes.
Again, we voted to reject. Financing model is based on the principle of pooled resources, with members and locals having access to union resources on the basis of need and merit, rather than the size of financial resources of their local. The proposal would lead to significant inequality and unfairness in the resources available to each local and violate the spirit and intent of the MGEU's pooled financing model. For example, many of the MGEU's smallest locals would each have as little as $1,650 per term and spend, while other MGEU larger locals will have as much as $4,200 to $14,000. This proposal would divert $360,000 per term from the MGEU budget. A large amount of that would require significant reductions in other areas of our budgeting. MGEU is legally accountable for expenditure of all funds raised through dues. If $360,000 of the budget were to be spent by nearly 200 locals per term, MGEU would need to develop an accountability process with additional accounting staff resources. And there is some process out there already. If you speak to your staff rep, if there's something special that you want to do at a local meeting, it can be requested and it might be financed, but you need to speak to your staff reps. There is a process in place.
Thank you. And not seeing anyone at a pro mic, I'll go to con mic 2.
James Alexander, Local 14 Corrections. Coming from one of the largest locals in Winnipeg, this resolution is something that would benefit my local. However, I believe it to be a detriment to the union as a whole. We have the ability to come together as a group, to pool our resources, to do good for everyone in our union. We don't need to diversify that income out to each local. We need to reach into the depth of activists that we do have across all the locals and support them all. And that's what I believe our current process does. So I would say, please reject this. Thanks.
Thank you, Delegate. I'm not seeing anyone else at the mics or online wanting to speak, so we will move to the vote. A reminder again, this will require 50% plus 1, and if you click next vote, it should come up on your screen right away. The ballot's now open. Fifteen-second warning. Okay, the ballot is now closed, so once we have the results up, I will read them to you. And that was defeated. And just 1 second, and so it was 15 to accept and 163 to reject. I'll now turn back to committee for FC3.
The MGEU will give an honorarium of $15, the living wage per hour, when a steward is on union business but on a regular scheduled day off from their workplace, because this is time when part-time workers could have picked up hours, because not everybody works Monday to Friday, so they could be giving up their only day off that week, and because this shows that the union respects the time being given by the activist. Submitted by Local Prairie Mountain Community Support Area 3, the committee's recommendation is to reject.
Okay, thank you. That's been moved and seconded by committee, so I'll turn to the chair for their comments.
Again, we've We've recommended rejection. Assuming each activist were paid for only 1 day of union business per year, this resolution could cost approximately $93,000 annually and might well rise to $560,000 per year if each activist were paid for a half a day each month. This resolution would also require MGU to develop and staff an administrative system for tracking this time and issuing T4s to activists at the end of the year. It is not clear if activist travel time would be eligible for this pay, potentially adding significantly additional costs. The definition of union hours is not specified and is not clear who would manage and approve the eligibility for union hours, and so we reject.
Thank you. Pardon me. Seeing a speaker at mic 1.
Kirk Carr, Local 403, Chief Stewart. I just want to make a friendly amendment. This is to add after union business where a time off letter the union would have approved and provided.
Yeah, I'll accept it as a regular amendment, but I don't know that it quite meets.
It just because it is because as the writer, that was my intent.
Yeah, I just think that it's changing it enough that I'd like to just go through the official amendment process, but if you have a seconder, we'll definitely look at that as an amendment. Well, sorry, could I just get your name? Alfred Umbra. Okay, thank you. So I will now take any questions, debate on the amendment. I think they're just putting it up on the screen. I'm not seeing any. I just want to make sure it's on this. I don't know if we can put the screen up for everyone to see. There we go. So it would then read, the MGU will give an honorarium of $15, the living wage, per hour when a steward is on union business. I'm assuming that's supposed to say which would have approved and provided a time off letter, but on a regular scheduled day off from their workplace. So this is looking to add the amendment which would have been approved and provided a time off letter. So as there's no speakers, we'll move to the vote on that. I'll just give them a second to get that up. So that ballot is now open. Fifteen seconds. That ballot is now closed, so we'll just wait on the results. And that amendment is carried with 93 in favor and 68 opposed. So that was 58% to 42%. So we'll now return to debate on the amended resolution. I believe I took a pro mic last, so I'm going to move to the con mic 2.
Everybody, Les Oskowski, again from Local 9, Area 1 Corrections and the Area 1 Director. As being a very, very active steward, this would affect me very positively, but I'm going to speak out against it. I didn't get involved in this to be compensated for it. I got involved in it to help people that didn't have a voice for themselves. I don't believe that paying any of us would be any benefit to the union or to any of us. We're here because we're volunteers. We're here to help the people without voices or that don't want to voice their own opinions on it. So I would ask that you all vote this down along with the rest of us. Thank you.
I see there's someone at Pro Mic 1, but I believe you'd be a second-time speaker, so I'm just going to go to Pro 4.
Kasali Akili, Social Sciences, Area 7, Local 47. I just have a point of question. I believe that's the right terminology.
Point of information, yeah,
Point of
that's fine.
information. Okay, so My question is, if this were to go through, I am a shop steward. My normal hours are Monday to Friday, 8 to 4. But the convention's on a Saturday tomorrow. So that means if this was go through, I would be paid for being here
Yes, that's what
tomorrow.
it's asking for, is that if it's on your day off, you would get paid this honorarium.
Okay.
If
just
you're, sorry, yes, if you're an elected steward.
only if I'm a steward,
Yeah.
but if I was not a steward and the same situation, I would not get paid.
Correct. I'm looking at Kirk. 'cause he
That
put the
was my
sword.
question, that's all. Okay.
Yes, thank you. What? This specifically says when a steward, though, yeah. I'm just double checking if we have any other first-time speakers. It doesn't look like it, so I will go to Pro Mic 1.
Kirk Carr, 403, Chief Steward. This is my last one, so you get a break from me. As an activist so far this year, I have lost $1,640 because I was on union business on my days off, which meant that I had to decide if making up that time on my other days off or if spending time with my wife and 2-year-old were more important. In a sense, I am in a position of financial hardship or family hardship. If it wasn't for my wonderful wife, I wouldn't be able to be a part of the MGEU. I wouldn't be an activist. A few conventions ago, our theme was work-life balance. In the past, the labor movement fought for 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work, and 8 hours of play. Currently, as a labor movement, we tell members that your time is worth money. Don't work for free. By there being no compensation for those who are shift workers or those who don't necessarily work Monday to Friday, we are creating hardships for our activists, who now have to choose, do I participate in this meeting or committee or not? Something someone who typically works Monday to Friday does not have to worry about. As a cost, though, this should be looked as a cost neutral to the budget if we assume every member at a meeting or union business is on a cost recovery basis anyways, which is what the MGU should already be budgeting for. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. I'll go to Con Mic 3.
So first of all, he was a second-time speaker, so it might be out of order for me to speak because as a second-time speaker, I think it ends debate.
I had some clarification. He was speaking on the amendment the first time, so he's actually first time to this.
Very good. I just want to be sure. Okay, so Diana Schultz, President of Local 410 and Component Director for Technical Professional. So in listening to both brothers that spoke just previous to me, I hear what Kirk is saying. I understand that there is some, some personal expense that you incur as a steward, and you have to make that decision, whether you choose to incur that or not. But as I listened to the brother just prior to him, and he's asking, and it's specifically pointing out a steward, if we're seeking equity, we need to be seeking equity for all. And I'm not certain that if we're then going to offer this honorarium of $15 to just the stewards, then we're disenfranchising others who may not be stewards, but they're here on their day off. So I think we want to consider that in our vote. I know how I will vote, but I just want to put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. I'll go to, there's no one on a Pro Mic, so I will go to Con Mic 2.
Hi there, I'm Robin, and I'm with Local 405, Area 5, and I'm a first-time speaker here. Your heart really races when you're standing up here, I just had a question, actually. The amendment was to ask for a time-off letter on your day off. I don't feel that that's really accurate. If you're off, why do you need a time-off letter? And I'll add to that, for example, I did not need a time-off letter for today. I was sent one. I didn't request one. I let them know that I didn't need one because Fridays are my usual day off. And so they voided that, or they reverted it. So that was just my question.
I hear what you're saying, how things currently stand on our days off, we wouldn't. My understanding of putting that in is that the intention is that if they had been working, they would have had a time off letter that approved it. Because they aren't working, they're not getting the paid time. That's my understanding. If I'm incorrect, Kirk could tell me so, but, or if he wants to quickly just. Sorry, pro mic 1 for Kirk.
Kirk R. 403. Yeah, you're right. So it was just to define what union business was, because the big confusion was what is union business.
Right.
So it was defined union business as
So if it's something that had you been working, you would have been approved for time off.
that the
this
union would have
case.
paid for anyways. Yeah.
Right, okay. I hope that clears that up. Again, there's no one at a pro mic, so I'll go to con mic 2 again.
Hello, Beverly Gibbs, Trades Local 52, Area 4. Pronouns are she, her, and hey, you at the back. I would just like to point out that this honorarium does sound great, but then we do have to take into account that we would have income tax and whatnot, and how is that going to affect T4s, because the union's gonna have to put us out T4s for everything we make, doing these things on our days off, when I'm just pointing out that there is going to be more hassle, because we will need T4s, which could possibly bump you up in a tax bracket, which will then make you making less anyways.
Thank you, Delegate. We have 2 more at con mic, so I'm just gonna go to con 2 first, because he was there first, if that's all right, and then I'll come to you.
Hello, my name is William Whites, Area 7, Local 14 Corrections, he, him. Longtime listener, first-time caller at this convention. I get it. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've done a lot of stuff with the union. I've done a lot of stuff with other things as well in my life, but they're my choice. I choose the events that I go to. I choose the things that I apply for. I choose for the different committees that I sit on. I get wanting to have some sort of compensation for that. It makes sense, especially now. Things were a lot different when I was 25 years younger. I didn't have a wife, I didn't have a family, I didn't have some of the expenses that I do now. But eventually, the bill comes due. If we go with this, we're gonna have to come up with that money. That money's gonna come from dues. We're gonna have to pay this out. I don't want my dues to go up because it's something that I choose to do on my own free time.
Thank you, Delegate. Still seeing no one at a pro mic, I'll go to con mic 3.
Angela Janice, Local 256, first-time speaker. I'm against this as well. When I first began the union, my job, I was working full-time, I could get time off, and now it's more my part-time job, so a lot of the times I'm taking time off from my other job to do it, to come and like be here or be with the committees and stuff, and I don't think it's fair. I mean, it's my choice. That's what I want to do. So I shouldn't expect other people to pay for my time off when it's what I want to do.
Thank you. I'm going to move to pro mic 1.
Hi, Tracy Grunowagen, Local 67. I just want to call the question, or put that.
Yeah. Okay, the question has been called. Do we have a seconder for that? Deb Jamerson. So the question has been called. So yeah, just if this does not pass, I'll come back to you, but we will move to the vote on calling the question. That ballot is open. Fifteen-second warning. That ballot is closed, so we'll just wait for the results. And that is carried with 162 in favor and 12 opposed. So we will now move on to voting on the resolution. So that ballot should be open now, so if you click next vote, it should be there. Fifteen-second warning. That ballot is now closed, so we should have the results in just a moment. And that resolution is defeated with 36 to accept and 150 to reject. With that, I would like to thank the committee for all their hard work, including the staff that assists them. And also congratulations to our new second VP. This is quite the first day on the job for her, so thank you very much. I'll step the committee down and I'll pass the chair back to Kyle.
We'll do it tomorrow. I just lost mine. You just like feeling tall.
Throwing things away.
Thank you, committee. Great job, guys, and great job everyone on the floor. This great discussion. It was really informative and really awesome. We're debating ideas, not each other. It's really important that we do that. It's as a union. But with that, we were going to adjourn for the day. Remember, we have the dinner tonight, and if you haven't got your picture taken yet at the photo booth, we have 18 minutes. So, and I bet you they'll stay longer if we get there and we don't let them go. So please enjoy your evening. We'll see you tonight at the dinner. We have a comedian coming tonight. It should be really entertaining. He's from Winnipeg. He's really funny. So thank you all and have a good evening. See you tomorrow morning.